Real Madrid prepares Son talks, Ozil in MLS deal, Pochettino opens the door for Messi, a transfer roundup, and today's great debate all coming up in the next few minutes. As I am your host, Matt Froelich, you are the OneFootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, and according to Turkish journalist Ekrem Konur, there is a deal to be done between Real Madrid and Tottenham over Heung-min Son. Apparently there are rumours flying around that Real Madrid are preparing themselves to sit down with Daniel Levy and the Tottenham board and do whatever it takes to hash out a deal for the South Korean. Now, there's not really much wonder as to why they want to do this deal. Son has been on fire. For the last 18 months or so, he's really taken his game to the next level and become one of, if not the most important players in the Spurs squad. He's currently performing at a consistent, world-class level, and well, you could see why Real Madrid want to sign him. Having said that, they did go and spend 100 million on Eden Hazard from the Premier League after he did so well at Chelsea, and that hasn't really turned out as planned, but there's nothing to say that Son might be completely different to that. There is, of course, a special relationship between the two clubs over the signings of Sergio Reguilon. There's also Luka Modric and Gareth Bale before that, but whether or not Tottenham will be willing to let him go, I'm not so sure. At the moment, Son and Kane are the two main men at Spurs, and both of them are apparently in talks for a new contract with the club, although that has been put on hold for a few months due to the finances being affected by the COVID pandemic. So are Real Madrid really above this pandemic and going to go and spend loads of money on not only a transfer fee, but also on a huge contract for Son? I can't see it happening just yet, certainly not in the January transfer window. If there is any more concrete interest, it's more likely to happen in the summer than it is halfway through the season. On top of this, of course, Son has just guided his team to a League Cup final, as Tottenham saw off Brentford 2-0 last night and set up a final with either Manchester United or Manchester City based on the outcome of tonight's other semi-final. So next up then, and a bit of news that Arsenal fans may or may not want to be hearing, and that is that Mesut Ozil is dangerously close to leaving the club. He hasn't played since March, and honestly, he polarises opinion. Either you want him back in the team because he's a really good creative influence at Arsenal, or he's down tools, he's not really worth it, and he should be out of the club. The team that he's talking to, DC United in the MLS. Now, you'll probably remember that DC United were the ones who had Wayne Rooney, and he did so well that he managed to earn a move back to England with Derby County. I'm not quite sure I can see that happening with Ozil, but at 32 years old, he's probably still got a few years in the MLS and then could come back and still do a job, maybe even in the Premier League. Apparently, part of the deal, not only with enormous wages, because you're going to have to pay enormous wages to get Mesut Ozil to join your club, is also the expansion of his M10 brand, including his line of coffee shops, and also making him the face of the club in Washington, DC. I mean, what more could you want? They're probably throwing, I don't know, a change of a stadium name or give him the airport or something like that. Whatever's happening, DC are putting it on the table for Mesut Ozil, and he could be the latest in a number of high-profile players who swap European football for the MLS. What this does mean for Arsenal is that they will finally be rid of him. Again, it does sound kind of harsh, especially if you're a Mesut Ozil fan, but it constantly lingers over the club, over Mikel Arteta, and every time they have a performance which isn't very creative or they haven't really done much going forward, all the questions just arise again about why he's not brought Ozil back into the squad. So once he leaves, it'll just be good for the player, good for the club, and they can finally move on. Next up though, and from one creative player to an extraordinarily creative player in Lionel Messi, and new PSG manager Mauricio Pochettino has failed to close the door on a move for the Argentinian. Now, I'm saying he's refused to close the door, and he hasn't exactly opened it, but he just said in one of his press conferences, now the new PSG manager, that the doors are open for all great players. Great players? Lionel Messi, I think we can put those two words in the same sentence. When it comes to the likes of Dele Alli and Christian Eriksen, two players that Pochettino had at Spurs, well, that's a different question altogether. We're not so sure whether they join. But for Messi, it would be the chance to link up again with Neymar. The Brazilian has been so positive in the fact that he's going to be linking up with Lionel Messi next season. He keeps on saying it. He seems so eager to do it. And with the looking like that Barcelona aren't going to be able to afford to bring Neymar back to the Camp Nou, going to have to do a role reversal, and Messi's going to have to go to Paris. Of course, there is those who talk about him leaving the club because he has 6 months left on his contract, and if he doesn't sign a pre-contract agreement this month, we will probably be seeing Lionel Messi in new colours, but a whole lot of rumours before he does in the summer. Moving on then to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news, and actually talking of Christian Eriksen, West Ham are apparently the latest team to be offered a deal to sign the Inter Milan midfielder. Alongside this, Slaven Bilic, just sacked from West Brom, is now back in management with Chinese side Beijing Guoan. Alongside this, and Dani Ceballos has said that after his loan spell at Arsenal, he wants to go back to Real Madrid and establish himself as an important member of the biggest club in the world. Those were his words. And lastly but not least, Carlos Aleñá has been allowed to leave Barcelona on loan, with Getafe looking like they're going to sign him up. Okay then, let's move on to this week's great debate. This is where the guys in the OneFootball newsroom ask you a question and they want to know your answer in the comment section below. Of course, you can find my and their answers in the relevant article in the OneFootball app. And this week, it's not really so much of a debate, it's more of a question for you guys. What is your favourite FA Cup third round memory? Of course, the FA Cup is back this weekend with some rather tasty ties. For me though, it's going to be one of the first ones I remember. That is 2001, Spurs' rather uninspiring 1-0 victory over Leyton Orient. Of course, to anyone who's not a Spurs fan, or to anyone who's not me, this is completely irrelevant. But not when you've got legendarily named Ginger Pele and Gary Doherty scoring the winner. Alongside this, it kind of introduced my obsession to knockout football and Spurs winning the FA Cup. And we're here 20 years later and I still haven't seen them do it, but who knows? Maybe this is the year. So that's all from me for today. Make sure you smash the like button and let me know your thoughts on the great debate down below. Whilst you're at it, make sure you subscribe. We're so close to 500k. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. But until next time, I will see you guys later.